Conversation Corner brought to us by Lucille's Roadhouse, Airport Road in Weatherford. They've got a big special. Today is the day. We've been talking about this. You can essentially get the Valentine's meal for free. You can get you can do two ASAP refill mugs that will work at Lucille's, which is different this year. This is the first time they've opened it up to Lucille's too. So you can get two refill mugs, and then your steak dinner is free. So purchase that if you want to do it for two, but you could also do it as a single. You could do one ASAP refill mug. You could buy one of those, and then you get a steak dinner for free. And check out the steak dinner. It comes with dessert as well, and it's super good. That's going to be happening at Lucille's Roadhouse for celebrating Valentine's. Coming up in a moment, we'll talk to State Senator Brent Howard. He is our guest this morning on Conversation Corner.
The new Van and John Show is brought to you by Toutfest Home Design Center, Main Street, Weatherford.
Attention breakfast lovers! Stop in at Lucille's Roadhouse off Airport Road in Weatherford, where you can enjoy all-you-can-eat breakfast Monday through Saturday, 6 a.m. to 11 a.m. The coffee is always freshly ground and ready to serve. While you're there, make sure to check out the great Made in Oklahoma products available in the gift shop. Lucille's Roadhouse, just off Airport Road in Weatherford, where you can enjoy all-you-can-eat breakfast Monday through Saturday, 6 a.m. to 11 a.m. That's Lucille's Roadhouse.
The Deer Creek Market at 109 West Main Street in Hydro. This week's specials include strawberries or blueberries, just $1.79. Boneless ribeye steak, $9.99 a pound. Boneless chuck roast, $4.59 a pound. Spare ribs, $2.99 a pound. Siege's smoked pork chops, $4.99 a pound. Boneless skinless chicken breast, $2.99 a pound. And Texas shrimp raw easy peel, 1 pound for only $12.99. That's at the Deer Creek Market in Hydro, where they spoil you with service and with savings. K&S Tire in Clinton wants to let everyone know that they're under new management. K&S Tire, located at 204 Frisco, your local Goodyear dealer, still provides the same great service and a wide selection of the Goodyear tires that you know and trust. Stop in today and ask about their Wrangler DuraTrack 10-ply all-terrain tires. You can save up to $200 on a brand new set. This includes mounting, balancing, and free rotation for the life of the tires. That's K&S Tire in Clinton, 204 Frisco Avenue, your local Goodyear dealer.
The weather outside may be cold and dreary, but farmers and their friends at Equity Exchange of Weatherford, Corne, and Eakley realize that spring is just around the corner. Equity Exchange has all the winter and spring top dressings for farmers' crops, as well as fertilizer, seed, and chemical needs. Drop by and visit with Matt or Greg in Weatherford, Dustin in Corne, or Jason in Eakley for all your agricultural needs. That's Equity Exchange, your member-owned cooperative since 1919.
Sugar Creek Casino presents Terry Clark, Pam Tillis, and Susie Boggess.
I got better things to do.
Saturday, February 29th, Sugar Creek Casino's Event Center.
Maybe it was meant for.
Terry Clark, Pam Tillis, and Susie Boggess live in concert.
Come on, baby,
Get your tickets by phone, Players Club, or online at sugarcreekcasino.com. Voted Reader's Choice Best Casino for Entertainment.
The YMCA is more than a gym. We're a cause-driven organization nurturing the potential of every child and teen. We improve our community's health and well-being, and we provide assistance to those who need it most. Last year, we gave more than $90,000 in financial assistance to more than 950 people in our community. We're stronger when we all work together, and we need your help to continue our good work. Please consider making a gift to our annual community support campaign. We're stronger together.
It's Susie Save-A-Lot with sweet savings from Save-A-Lot this week in Weatherford. 1 pound of 26 to 30 count cooked shrimp for just $6.99. 10 pounds of russet potatoes are $2.99, and get pineapples for just $1.99 each.
Convenient shopping, low prices, great service, and they'll even carry out your groceries, all on Washington and Main in the Weatherford Shopping Center.
We're going to save a lot.
Carter Sand and Gravel has become one of the Texas Panhandle's leaders in backhoe operations, roustabout work, septic system installations, and concrete safe room buildings. They are also leaders in installing above and below ground storm shelters on site. Call Carter Sand and Gravel today at 806-669-6615. It's never too soon to think about your safety. Carter Sand and Gravel, leaders in on-site above and below ground storm shelter installation.
95.5 with Van and John.
It's Conversation Corner on Valentine's Day, brought to us by Lucille's Roadhouse. Like I said, you can get those refill mugs, get a free steak dinner tonight, or today, I guess. I guess it could work today, too, at Lucille's Roadhouse. I know a lot of us have basketball tonight, so go for lunchtime.
Yeah.
State Senator Brent Howard joining us on the phone. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day. What did you get your sweetheart?
Still working on that. Don't wanna spoil the surprise.
Yes.
Want her.
Is this a last-minute shopping thing, or do you have something you're just waiting to? You don't want to spoil it.
Have something in mind. Just kind of she needs to help pick out.
Okay.
Yep, I understand that.
I have. I've told this story many times, but I was Christmas way easier to shop for the day of and try to make it right.
Mm-hmm.
Valentine's Day is struggle is real. All the good stuff is gone.
Yes.
Flower shops are empty.
Same thing with the cards for your kids, you know. You wait till the last minute, it's like, Little Mermaid, not popular right now, but that's going to have to do.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. First of all, Little Mermaid's always popular.
That's true.
So let's back up on that.
Timeless.
How's the Senate treating you?
It's getting to be a busy time
Yeah.
up there. A lot of things going on still. I just got into my office and going to work on tax returns and a trust today, but
awesome.
Then it takes up all the rest of the time.
Can you do my tax return for me?
I could.
I'm not saying I'm not willing to go to jail, but I just don't want to go to jail. If that makes sense. Were you allowed? Is that things you should tell your accountant?
It could be as bad, but just not. Don't give him jail time. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Ron?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
If we could figure out a way to, I'm willing to plea out. So.
You want to operate in that gray area.
Right. Yes. Yeah. When it comes to taxes, I have lots of gray areas.
Mm-hmm.
I hate taxes. But I also haven't received a tax return in about 5 years. So maybe you could help me solve that problem too.
Yeah. Is it still going to be a while?
My wife tax refund. Haven't received one of those in 5 years. My wife tells me that it's because I shouldn't be doing my own taxes. But I tell her, I got this, honey. No big deal. But
You're
after
saving it on not having to pay there.
That's right. But after 5 years, she's starting to not believe me. Because we won't whatever, and we'll get a letter in the mail about 5 years later. Every year for the last 5 years, I got a letter in the mail saying, "Hey, I think you owe us more money."
Oh no, that's not a good one.
I know, it's terrible. It's terrible. Me and the state of Oklahoma really fight. For some reason, I can never get that one right.
Fee is very expensive.
Well, yeah, it's like you owe us. I've never not owed them money.
And good thing you don't work for the state, 'cause you'd be fired.
No, I know. Yeah, no, that's. By the way, in case you're wondering, SWASU is a state-run organization.
Oh,
write that down.
Well.
Anyways, all right. So let's talk about life. Let's talk about something that happened. I think it was yesterday, day before, that has caused a lot of buzz on social media, a lot of buzz out there in Oklahoma about the Senate passing a bill with the arming teachers.
Yes.
Is that where you stand on that one, and what do you feel like it's a good thing, a bad thing, or?
That one I did vote in favor of. It's one I think it's a good thing. It's back down to local control, and the local school board gets to make that election on not only what the requirements are, but specifically who would get to carry. And it is limited to school employees that specifically apply and meet school board qualifications.
So what are those qualifications? I ask that because it can still carry. You don't have to have that anymore, right? I mean, that's not a thing. It's Oklahoma law. We don't need that. But would you still have to have that for this?
There's constitutional carry,
right?
But there are still limitations on where you can go. So any private business that posts, as well as any college campus or federal building or courthouses,
right,
are exempt from that. So you can't just carry in there. And parks are also exempt. So those are not open carry, constitutional carry.
But
where you have a license to carry permit under the Self-Defense Act and a local school board, if you're an employee at a school, the local school board would be able to say you can carry on if you're pre-approved and meet not just licensure acts, but their own specific rules that they put in place.
Couldn't you argue, though, that they could do that now? Like, what is the point? What did the Senate bill change?
No, school boards didn't have that authority to allow. The law as it was just a licensed security officer hired by the school or a cleat trained officer. So, the sheriff or police departments could go into the school and not have to put their guns down.
I got you. Okay.
This adds on that the school board can allow employees to come on. And what it was is it really is, we talk about rural versus urban coming into play quite a bit, and we see some more of that variation. Oklahoma City, Tulsa, you even get into Stillwater. From my time up there, the police department's 3-4 blocks away, or at least one of their satellite offices from the schools. But you go to the school that I went to, Navajo, and you might have one sheriff that's patrolling within a 10-mile radius. Otherwise, from Altus to Navajo is 13 miles.
Right.
And you're talking about that much time to get somebody in response. So I really do think that is the rural side trying to just say, look, we want somebody that's able to shoot back if they meet these own qualifications that our school board puts in place.
And I know what you're saying, and maybe I'm just being the devil's advocate here, but could you make the argument that we lowered the standard? Because CLEAT certification is not just the police officers. Anybody can take that class. In fact, they've had teachers that have taken the pass. It's 240 hours worth of training, and it's could you argue now we've just, by removing that, we've lowered the standard of the amount of training the person with the gun in the school has to have?
I wouldn't say lowered it. That was the argument that was being made. We don't have a uniform training now that would be in place all the way across the entire state. But the rebuttal and looking into it, what I've read, CLEAT training doesn't just talk about active shooter situations or responses. CLEAT training also goes into how to investigate, how to approach a car, pull a car over, file paperwork. So CLEAT training, while it is a 9-week intensive course, you probably only spend about 1.5 to 2 weeks actually focused in on what these responses would be out in rural areas or at these schools.
Okay.
And you spend the other time. And so it's just trying to get somebody to be able to focus in on what they need to. Everything still has to be coordinated with the law enforcement agency that's in that jurisdiction. And so that was something that was clarified while we were in debate with this. Even if the school board votes that they want to allow teachers to carry under their specific rules, the let's say Weatherford Public Schools says that the school board elects in, but Weatherford Police Department, as the responding agency and law enforcement agency, will not partner with them on training. Weatherford Schools is not allowed to put this in place because the responding law enforcement agency has not partnered with them.
Okay.
Just as an example, if you're tuning in, that's not
yes,
what's happening right now.
Just as an example.
I see. That was one of the okay. Well, let's talk about something a little less controversial than guns in schools. Let's talk about abortion.
We're talking to Brent Howard, the state senator.
Yeah, state senator of Oklahoma. Tell me, I saw this. There's kind of different controversies there. I know the House has had some bills, but the Senate has a bill of its own that's kind of like the House's bill, basically saying that doctors that perform abortions would be losing their licenses. And then you have the third side of the argument saying that it doesn't matter what either one of them pass or don't pass, they're going to find it unconstitutional anyways, whether it be the Supreme Court, the state Supreme Court, or, of course, the federal Supreme Court. What do you say to all of that, I guess?
Everything on it, whenever you're talking about politics, it is a take and give a little bit. And there's absolutely, sanctity of life. I believe in that. I think almost everybody in this state would also believe in that. Whenever you start going into control over other people and then how far the punishment will be, that's kind of where we're getting into the spectrum of where these bills go. And so where we're trying, the main bill in the Senate right now that we're looking at would be completely civil actions to try to protect, again, the sanctity of life aspect of all life being worthy of at least given a chance. So the main Senate bill right now is looking to open up civil penalties that we're expanding who has standing to sue. A a doctor or a facility that performs an abortion. The bill that recently passed out of the House is back onto the criminal side and license use side. And basically it says that any doctor that performs an abortion shall have that license suspended for a period of not less than 1 year. And then the further bill out there that a big rally was held for at the Capitol, Senate Bill 13, puts abortion for the provider as well as the mother at a basically equivalent of murder. A second degree or first degree murder charge could be brought against all parties that were part of the abortion.
So
I think the
even the person that gets the abortion, they would be involved in it too.
Yes. Yes, that is the Senate Bill 13 puts all of that language into the criminal statutes as well as repeals a lot of the steps that have been taken right now to just have more thought into that process. So it would remove ultrasound requirements, it would remove waiting periods, it would remove parental notification if under 16, because it would just completely outlaw and make murder charges be able to be brought against the provider as well as the mother.
Wow.
What do you say, though, to, I mean, the person, again, back to kind of the Roe versus Wade, the Supreme Court back in the 70s, saying that the states are allowed to put restrictions, but to saying that it is legal. I guess my question is, are we doing this to challenge the Supreme Court, or are we just basically spending a lot of money and wasting a lot of people's time knowing it has zero chance?
The argument, well, the two sides of that argument of why it would need to be passed. The first is, yes, to directly challenge, to do what we can to preserve sanctity of life, and that doing what's right might not be necessarily doing what's following the law. And so just having it and saying it as a stand, I think, is a big portion of it. Those that are looking at further, so part of what I did this week was actually pull Roe v. Wade and read through that entire Supreme Court opinion just to go back to where this challenge was. And even in that Supreme Court opinion, you're exactly right. Third trimester was deemed to be viability. States could completely restrict or prohibit any abortion at that point. Second trimester was deemed to be basically able to have restrictions related to health. And then first trimester under Roe v. Wade was that states did not have the right to restrict in that. Medical has advanced, and so now we've kind of backed up where that viability time is. But ultimately, I think that that's what most of these laws, and not just within our state, but other states, are looking at. Medically, we're able to back up viability so far. At what point can we start saying that there's a prohibition going forward? And so that's what I think ultimately it's challenges, maybe not directly in the face of Roe v. Wade to have the Supreme Court hear it, but to just try to determine how far back we can go, and then at some point be able to get that direct challenge on Roe v. Wade whenever there's a possibility of a court ruling in that favor.
Plus, not to mention, I know federally that Inhofe is backing a bill in the states, in the federal Senate, the U.S. Senate, sorry, where expecting mothers can start receiving child support. And I think that kind of does put a twist on it, saying, hey, we're now recognizing this is a child support reason. I guess if that makes any sense. I don't know. They may be completely unrelated, but my point is that they're recognizing that an unborn baby is now worthy of receiving financial assistance from a father or whatnot, and I think that's a big step.
Mm-hmm. And that's putting that personhood in it. And we have laws into effect on that as well. If a pregnant woman is murdered at any point, the criminal or the one that perpetrated that murder would be charged for double, for not just the mother but also the unborn child that she was carrying. So the laws have been interpreted in various ways on various things as to when personhood actually starts, and then that's where, going back to Roe in that interpretation, when does personhood start or when does viability start? And from that point forward, the states have the restriction ability or prohibition ability.
All right, I'm going to end with this. It was kind of I say controversial bill. A lot of people have different opinions on it that is coming out of the House Bill 1192, with ad valorem being allowed to help support cities being able to help support police stations, fire stations by the use of ad valorem taxes. Now it's going to make its way over to the Senate. Do you have a thought on that? Does the Senate have a similar bill, or is this coming over there, of course, to the Senate to be passed? But it was passed late yesterday afternoon in the House of Representatives.
Yes, it passed with just about 20 no votes, 2021, I think, somewhere in there, and
which is what pretty much party lines, right? I'm pretty
no,
like 22 Democrats, something like that. Anyways, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, there are, but there were a few non-votes, people that were excused because they had already left or were out of the building. But there were some Republicans against it. Somewhat bipartisan, I think.
Okay.
This is something that I've been asked to address in multiple ways. I don't know specifically. I mean, this bill was negotiated. It was passed through committee just a couple days before, and then, as you said, just passed the House. So we haven't even seen the final version, or I have not pulled up the final version yet of what was passed. Even when I was campaigning 2 years ago, I would go to Burns Flat, Cordell, and I would hear the same refrain of, our town doesn't have the tax base on sales taxes, because ultimately that's where municipalities have to gather all of their revenue.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have the sales taxes to be able to support our core services, to be able to do this, to provide those services needed, and especially cutting police departments, cutting emergency response, fire department. So they have been asking, and I have heard it from constituents about trying to ensure that there's some viability there at some point in the future for them to be able to seek new ways of revenue. The opposite side, I hear from the farmers, are, look, we don't want to, we're the major landowners, we don't want to open up the Pandora's box of the 100 people in town can vote for the one person that owns land outside of, to be able to have to start paying for all those services in town whenever they're outside or not subject to the services within. So this was a compromise that was ultimately made between parties, the Municipal League, Farm Bureau, Cattlemen's, and what I've heard from it, again, haven't read the final version, is that only within the municipal limits, and then ag and industrial are exempted from any increase, with a cap of 5%, and then like your bonds and your other ad valorem taxes would have to have a 60% vote. Seems like a fairly good compromise. Again, would go back to that local control issue. If the town sees that need and wants to support that need, it is limited to these emergency and safety positions, such as fire, police, and EMS. So I'm going to see it. I would love to hear from constituents on it and see where they would like to see that option going forward, that bill move forward. I think it does have the support of a majority of the Senate at this time, but things could change whenever we do get into final reading.
That's good. I like that it's 60%. I think that's a big deal, and I like that because that should deter. For example, you mentioned towns like Cordell and stuff saying they need it. This is something they have to have to continue to support those core services. But then you have some other towns that don't necessarily need it, but I could easily see them wanting it, and I want to make sure it's a need, not a want. I like hopefully this compromise kind of fixed that problem.
Yeah, and I think that in the future, this is where it gets into the Pandora's box of what I had mentioned. In the future, that could change. What might be good on this would be that you limit it to towns of only 10,000 or 20,000, 25,000, 50,000 people.
Right.
Because ultimately what we're trying to do and what the ask has been is where sales taxes have just completely fallen off the radar for a lot of small towns, to be able to allow them to continue to provide services. But you look at Oklahoma City, that has had sales taxes increase for the last decade, just double digits almost. What is their need, or where are they just doing more money grab if they enact this? So there are things to look at, and I want to see the final bill, but again, would be open to hearing what is needed from my constituents on it.
And speaking of that, we're talking to State Senator Brent Howard. Before we let you go, what is a way? Give us some ways to get a hold of you.
Best way is email brent.howard@oksenate.gov. Just because that's there and it's able for me to read, even if I'm at a committee or on the floor. The other would be to call my assistant, 405-521-5612, and leave a message or be able to talk to me. And some town halls, I know that I've got a few coming up, and we'll have eggs and issues there in Weatherford, I think early next month.
Oh, fun.
Up. Yeah.
Very nice. Well, thanks for talking to us, and have a wonderful Valentine's Day and great weekend.
And let me know when you got some time to do my taxes.
All right. You know I charge for that.
Oh, hold on. I thought this was a part of like me being one of your constituents.
Okay.
I voted for you. I thought you said if I voted for you,
far.
you'd give me free taxes.
Oh, is that what he said?
I absolutely never said that. If the ethics commission is
it's just a joke. If anybody's listening, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But seriously, if you want to give me free taxes, I mean, whatever.
Anybody's up for
After
grabs.
the fact.
Thank you very much, Senator Howard.
All right.
The new Van and John show on Coyote Mornings. The Coyote reminds you, if you're a contractor, farmer, or rancher,